Hey everyone, Sergeant Earthbird here, and today we're going to be reacting to the next episode, all the way in 1808, Napoleon's Great Blunder, Spain. Now, from what I know, France actually took a big chunk out of Spain, they were occupying almost all of the country at their height. What's strange is that Spain was Napoleon's ally, so I guess in this episode we're going to find out why Napoleon betrayed his ally, or why Spain betrayed France. Who knows? Let's get into it and find out. It's also a long episode, same as the last one. Okay, let's get started. Looks like my cat will be joining me.
Epic History TV History March collaboration. Supported by our sponsor, Osprey Publishing. In the autumn of 1807, French Emperor Napoleon Bonaparte dominated Europe. He had humbled Austria and Prussia and sealed an alliance with Russia.
Ow! What the hell? Okay, my cat will not be joining me. He just jumped up and attacked me for no reason. That's a bad cat. Jeez. Stop. Don't look at me like that.
Major powers, only Britain still defied him,
Just see that?
safe from invasion thanks to its powerful navy.
Yeah.
Napoleon had ordered all territory controlled by France or its allies to stop trading with Britain.
Oh, yeah.
The so-called continental system, or blockade, designed to wreck Britain's economy and force its government to make peace.
But apparently, this did not work.
But neutral Portugal had continued to trade with its historic ally, Britain.
What?
So Napoleon sent an army under General Junot to occupy the country,
He's gonna
force it into line.
What?
The invasion was supported by France's ally, Spain. Though privately, Napoleon held Spain's rulers in contempt. The Bourbon
That's rude.
royal family was decadent and corrupt.
Oh.
The king and crown prince loathed each other, while the country was effectively run by Chief Minister Manuel Godoy, the Queen's lover. Spain, Napoleon concluded, was backwards, militarily weak, and incompetently governed.
Rude!
And he devised a plan to seize control of the country.
That is rude. So it was France who was betraying Spain, not the other way around. Spaniards, after a long agony, your nation is perishing. I have seen your pain, and I am bringing you a remedy. Well, it seems like if he does invade, some people in Spain will support him. You know, because things are not going good, apparently.
The spring of 1808, under the pretext of guarding Spain against the British, French troops took up
Guarding Spain against the British?
strategic positions around the country. The Spanish people saw the French military presence as the latest in a long line of humiliations, and held Chief Minister Manuel Godoy responsible. There were riots at the palace of Aranjuez. Godoy was nearly lynched.
Jeez.
Napoleon invited the Spanish royal family and Godoy to take refuge in the French city of Bayonne, and sent Marshal Murat and 50,000 troops to restore order.
Oh, it's that guy. That's the same guy who destroyed Russia in the last episode.
In Madrid. But on the 2nd of May 1808, the people of Madrid rose up against Murat's soldiers. It became known as the Dos de Mayo uprising, immortalized by the artist Francisco Goya. This scene shows Mamelukes of Napoleon's imperial guard attacked by the citizens of Madrid. 100 soldiers were killed. The French responded ruthlessly, shooting down dozens in the streets and executing more than 100 by firing squad.
Jeez.
Meanwhile, in Bayonne, Napoleon forced King Carlos to abdicate and bestowed the title King of Spain on his own brother, Joseph.
Who is the enemy of your happiness? Napoleon, Emperor of the French. What is Napoleon's origin? From evil. Wow.
That summer, as Napoleon forced a new modernizing constitution on Spain, and his brother Joseph entered Madrid as its new king, the Spanish reacted with fury. The French weren't just arrogant foreigners trampling on their national honor. They were godless atheists who, during the French Revolution, had rejected the Pope and Catholic Church.
Oh yeah, French was very secular. What do you mean arrogant? I'm not arrogant. They just defeated Russia, Prussia, Austria, um, like multiple countries in Italy. Like they're doing pretty good.
Napoleon, priests warned the peasants, was the very Antichrist himself. Revolts erupted across the country. The Spanish army was joined by militias and partisans who attacked French troops and killed collaborators. French soldiers carried out savage reprisals. No mercy was shown. The countless atrocities horrified Francisco Goya and led to his famous Disasters of War series.
Well, it's not gonna help them. This man's be on your side. Oh my god, this is ridiculous and rude.
At first, it seemed the French would easily put down the revolt. Girona, Valencia, and Zaragoza were besieged by French troops, while the Spanish army of Galicia was routed by Marshal Bessières at the Battle of Medina del Rio Seco. But
so where does this blunder come in?
Days later, as General Dupont and 3 French divisions withdrew from Cordoba, slowed down by wagons piled high with loot, they were surrounded at Bailen by General Castaño's army of Andalusia and forced to surrender.
Okay, well that's
the Spanish took 18,000 French prisoners, about half of whom later died of starvation.
Jeez.
Bailen was a humiliation for France, her first major defeat since Napoleon became emperor. France's enemies across Europe were delighted. Napoleon was incandescent with fury. The situation went from bad to worse. The Portuguese joined the revolt, while fierce Spanish resistance forced the French to abandon the sieges of Valencia, Girona, and Zaragoza.
Oh, no.
Spain's new king, Joseph Bonaparte, was even forced to flee the capital. The British assisted the revolt, which the Spanish now called a War of Independence, by shipping weapons to Spain using the Royal Navy. On the 1st of August, a small British army commanded by Sir Arthur Wellesley landed in Portugal to aid their revolt. On the 17th of August, he beat a small French force at Rolissa. Then, 4 days later, beat Junot's main army at the Battle of Vimero.
Good job.
But Wellesley's newly arrived superior, Sir Hugh Dalrymple, then agreed to repatriate Junot and his army to France, with all their arms and plunder, using British ships. In Britain, the generous terms were seen as a disgrace and scandal. A subsequent inquiry exonerated Wellesley, the future Duke of Wellington, but Dalrymple never held command again.
Everywhere where I'm absent, he commits nothing but follies. Well, it does seem like that. Like when he was at Prussia, they were doing really well. At Bavaria, etc.
Napoleon decided the only way to sort out the situation in Spain was to go there himself.
Oh, wow.
He assembled 130,000 reinforcements, including many of his best troops, and on the 7th of November led a second invasion of Spain.
Okay, let's see how
Most Spanish troops were inexperienced, were often badly equipped and led, and their armies had no coherent strategy. They were no match for the Grande Armée, which burst across the Ebro River and inflicted heavy defeats on the Spanish at Burgos and Tudela.
There we go.
At Tudela, Marshal Lannes' Third Corps avenged the defeat at Bailén by smashing the army of General Castaños, sending it fleeing
Jeez, look at these casualties. Wow.
in two directions. Napoleon pushed on rapidly.
Seriously, that's like 6-1.
North of Madrid,
Like
8,000 Spanish held the mountain pass at Somosierra. Napoleon, impatient to break through to the capital, ordered forward the Polish light horse of the guard. In an attack of almost suicidal bravery, they charged the Spanish guns head on and enabled the French to take the pass.
Wow.
4 days later, after Napoleon threatened to obliterate the city, Madrid opened its gates to his army.
Yeah, that's definitely a good incentive.
Unaware of the disaster engulfing Spanish forces, a 20,000-strong British army, commanded by Sir John Moore.
Now you decide to show up. Wow. Thank you, Britain. Are you kidding me? Yeah, good luck.
Had just arrived in Salamanca after a 300-mile march from Lisbon, with another smaller force en route from Coruña.
Oh, goodness.
The British army was inexperienced, but in contrast to most Spanish forces, it was well trained, organized, and led.
That's
As
good.
news reached Moore
That's good news
of
for
the Spanish
them.
collapse, he nevertheless planned to divert French forces by attacking Marshal Soult's isolated Second Corps and threatening Napoleon's communications to Burgos and France. At Sagun on the 21st of December, the British 15th Hussars advanced overnight through winter frost and made a dawn attack on a French cavalry brigade, routing it in one great charge. But as Moore prepared a full-scale attack on Soult's corps, he received news that Napoleon was advancing rapidly towards him, his main army, from Madrid.
Oh no. Great and ad.
Hello, everyone.
Everyone?
I have something to ask you. When you add your name to join my campaign, you still have a long way to go for winning Donald Trump.
No, thank you. I'm pursuing the English. Sword to their kidneys. Wow.
While two French corps under Marshal Lannes began a second bloody siege of Zaragoza, Napoleon saw a chance to get to grips with the British at last. Intending to trap Moore between his own forces and Soult's Second Corps, he force-marched his troops over the icy Guadarrama Pass in the midst of a blizzard.
Jeez, he really wants to get this done.
2-1, immediately ordered a retreat, planning to march 250 miles to the coast, where his army could be evacuated by the Royal Navy.
Wow, they just sent, troops for the first time. Then immediately, they have to retreat.
For both sides, the race to the sea was an exhausting slog through mountains, mud, and bitter cold. Many fell by the wayside as British discipline collapsed, leading to looting and drunkenness, except among the rear guard, which fought several skillful delaying actions, kept the French at bay. Soldiers of Britain's elite 95th Rifles were prominent in these skirmishes. This specialized light infantry regiment wore green uniforms for better concealment and were one of the few units on any side armed with rifles. Unlike the standard smoothbore musket, rifles had spiral grooves in the barrel that spun the bullet as it was fired.
Oh yeah, these are like the more accurate ones.
Making them slower to load, much more accurate. In one legendary incident during Moore's retreat at Cacabelos, rifleman Tom Plunkett picked out and shot dead a French general at 400 yards.
Dang!
Some say further.
That is incredible.
Thanks to the skill of the rear guard and the desperate pace of the retreat, the British kept one step ahead of the French. On New Year's
I guess they're gonna make it.
Napoleon received grave news from Paris.
Oh no, what?
Rumors of plots, and Austria mobilizing once more for...
Oh yeah, this is when Austria gets defeated again. You donkey, Austria, don't do it.
The Emperor immediately left for France, taking many of his best troops with him, and entrusted Marshal Soult and Second Corps with finishing off the British. The pursuit continued, but on the 11th of January 1809, Moore's ragged army reached Corunna. For Sir John Moore's exhausted army, the Spanish port meant supplies, rest, and the prospect of rescue. But few ships were there to meet them on the 11th. Fortunately, the British had been able to blow up bridges behind them to delay Marshal Soult's advance.
Well, that's good.
And 3 days later, on the 14th of January, the naval transports arrived, allowing Moore to begin embarking his cavalry and artillery.
Fort San Antonio? Wow.
But the very next day, Soult's army appeared on the hills south of Corunna, taking up positions on the heights of Peñasquedo, where he sighted his main battery of cannon. Half of Moore's army deployed in a defensive line 2 miles south of the city, with 2 divisions held back to protect his right flank. Both armies were roughly 16,000 strong. The French had 4 regiments of dragoons, while the British cavalry was already aboard ship.
Oh wow. The British army earlier was 20,000. Lost like 1/5 of their entire army.
But the broken terrain of walls, hedges, and olive trees made it a battlefield ill-suited to cavalry. Soult's plan was to attack the British right flank and trap Moore's army against the sea. Around 2 p.m., the French artillery opened fire. Then Mermet's infantry division advanced, supported by La Houssaye's dragoons on his left. Moore had been unsure if Soult would attack, and had just ordered Paget's division to begin embarkation. Now he hurriedly cancelled that order, ordering Paget instead to bring up his men to reinforce his open flank, and Fraser's division to take up position on the heights of Santa Margarita. The French advanced through hedges and over walls, with heavy firing from skirmishers on both sides. Then the British counterattacked. The 42nd Highlanders and 50th Foot charged into the village of Elvina and drove the French out. But in confused fighting, they in turn were soon pushed back to their own lines. Sir John Moore was close to the front line, observing developments, urging on officers and men. But as he ordered up the Guards Brigade to reinforce the line, he was hit in the shoulder by a cannonball.
By a cannonball? Wow. That is crazy.
But it was obvious the wound was fatal, and he was carried back to the city.
Oh no. They're screwed.
Soult sent forward Merle's division to support the attack on Elvina. Scottish General Sir John Hope had taken over command of the British army from the dying Moore, and he ordered forward 2 battalions of infantry to meet the French attack. Paget's division, led by skirmishers of the 95th Rifles, arrived to shore up the British right flank. The terrain was so bad for horses that French dragoons chose to dismount and fight on foot, but were slowly pushed back by the British. Paget's advance threatened the flank of Mermet's attack on Elvina.
Oh my gosh, the British are winning.
And he too was forced to withdraw, while an attack on the right by Delaborde's infantry.
I thought the British was the inexperienced. They're going head to head with like the French army. Like literally the best in all of the world at this point. And they're winning.
Secured a foothold in the village of Piedra-Longa, but got bogged down in heavy skirmishing. Around 6 p.m., dusk fell, and firing died out across the battlefield. News that the British line had held reached Boer shortly before he died in Corunna around 8 p.m.
That's good. He heard about, he's successful right before he died.
That night, the British lit campfires and posted sentries, then silently withdrew to Corunna to begin embarkation.
That's smart.
The next morning, the French found the enemy positions abandoned, but they were slow to take advantage. It wasn't until noon that they were able to bring up 6 cannon. And get them into position, overlooking the Bay of Corunna.
Oh my gosh, they need to hurry.
The British had almost completed their evacuation by the time the French guns opened fire. In a hurried departure, a few British transports ran aground, and 2 were set on fire. But overall, losses were light.
Wow.
A small Spanish garrison held Corunna, waiting.
Imagine one being like dying on the transport. Like you went all this way just to be like one of the only ones to die.
Until the British fleet had escaped the sea before surrendering.
O people of England, be satisfied. O my country will do me justice. The last words of Sir John Moore. Oh no.
Whether Moore's retreat to Corunna was a British disaster or miraculous escape is still debated.
Almost reminds me of Dunkirk. Was it a disaster or was it a glorious escape?
And did he abandon Spain in its hour of need, or draw off Napoleon's main force?
Did the British army draw some of the German troops, or did they abandon France? Like the same thing in World War II.
Buying time for others. Either way, Britain's only army had been saved and would return to fight another day, while Napoleon now faced the prospect of a long war on the Iberian Peninsula and renewed conflict with Austria, a war on 2 fronts that would challenge his empire like never. Napoleon had blundered in Spain, but it was years before the scale of his mistake was evident. Then he would say, "I embarked pretty badly on this affair, I admit it. The immorality showed too obviously. The injustice was too cynical. The whole of it remains very ugly." If you'd like to learn more about the peninsula...
And there we go. That was Napoleon's Great Blunder, Spain 1808. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to, like it. But yeah. Wow. We're like a third of the way done. Tomorrow we'll be reacting to Napoleon defeated. Oh. Aspern. So yeah, make sure to check that out. Hello everyone, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to like it and subscribe to my channel. And turn on the notification bell thingy. And if you didn't, then make sure to leave a thumbs down. But yeah, that would be greatly appreciated. And while you're at it, go ahead and watch my other videos. They're probably just as good, and if not better than this one right now. Except for my oldest videos, don't watch those. And, subscribe to these people down here, my fellow sergeants. They're other YouTubers that I either know or I have in high regards. Yeah, even my cat agrees. So, thank you for watching, and have a great day.